The views and opinions expressed during Love and Life with Lana and Dave are those only of the speakers and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or the position of our podcast hosts or affiliates. Any content provided is not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, anyone, or anything. All right, let's do it.
You're listening to Love and Life with Lana and Dave, the podcast where logic is power and you take control. Thank you for tuning in and making the choice to listen in and get ideas for your own love and life. Now, here are your hosts, Lana Williams and David Vaccaro.
Tell me who you are.
I'm David. Tell me
And
who
I'm
you
Lana.
are. I did it right over you, like I talked over your voice. Tell me who you are now.
Oh, I'm Lana.
Oh, good.
They heard me.
They didn't hear you.
It doesn't really matter if you did. They will.
Oh, good. That's
I've just said I'm Lana twice, and now people are already sick of me.
So I'm David.
You
Now
know?
we're even. I said it twice,
Okay.
too. Does that make you feel better?
Yes. And,
It does.
we're just making sure that we are emphasizing who we are. We don't want anybody not to know.
Yeah. By the way,
That
I'm
would be
David.
terrible.
Yeah, I'm David.
Hey, by the way, I'm Lana.
That's right. And today,
This week we are talking about
that's right.
cheating.
Oh, boy.
Lots of aspects of cheating.
Yes. And what
All kinds of different types of cheating.
Yeah, and what I believe it really is, like truly. And I've got some ideas on cheating. I don't believe that one of the things, and I'm going to just start by saying this. Here's a misconception. Once a cheater, always a cheater. That's not true, right? And I'll ask everybody
You
out
and I have
there.
already had a conversation.
Yeah,
about
of
this.
course we have. So we've definitely had many conversations about this, but it's time to bring it to you guys. So one of the things that I consider when somebody says once a cheater, always a cheater, because I hate that. And then you hear about people that say, oh, I was with this guy or girl. I'm not going to pick on the women here, but it was a girl for my situation. She said, oh, he said he didn't want kids and blah, 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 and he didn't want kids, and now he's got kids with this girl. And I'm like, he didn't want kids with you, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. And people don't want to accept that, right? That there's compatibility issues.
Should he have said that to her? I don't want to have kids with you. Probably. Would that have gone over well? Probably not.
Not necessarily, because he was enjoying the relationship he had. But yeah, he should have. I mean, when I tell somebody I don't want kids, I mean I don't want kids with anybody, right?
Right. Me too.
I don't. Well, I have kids, so I did want kids. By the way,
Yes, but not anymore.
Yeah.
I get it.
So yeah, I don't want any more kids, and it doesn't matter who you are. But yeah, I would be honest, I think about that, but I think that's something that you learn along the way. We talked last week about instant gratification, and I think that that's part of it, right? Where you're kind of in a relationship and you start learning that person and you realize, I want kids, but then you get to a point where you go, I really want kids, but not with her or him. Because you learn somebody
Well, I
too.
know a lot of people who actually did have kids with people that they didn't want to, and
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not.
once
never,
it was a
never
little too
fares
late
well.
to learn that. But
Yeah, exactly. So
if you can, if you can look ahead and kind of try to engineer things a little better, that'd be great. But I don't think, again, people live and learn. That's the way it is.
that's right. So
And yeah,
here's a definition of cheating that is going to piss a lot of people off. Definition of cheating is being untruthful about your agreement that you have with each other. Okay? So what I mean by that is if you have an agreement, because there are relationships where they have an agreement they can go sleep with other people. So how do you cheat? Can you still cheat in that type of relationship? And the answer is yes, you can. Because there may be, we have to be together when we do this, and then you're not together when you do it. So that's cheating, right? So I also tend to believe that if you lie to me to be with another person, even if you didn't touch them, that's cheating, right?
now we're getting into my definition.
Yes, because if you have an agreement with me or you lie to me, if you have to lie to me to do something that you're doing, that's a form of cheating, right? Because to me, you're telling me so let's say I go and I get a girlfriend and I say, hey, I'm going out with the guys tonight for a couple beers after work. And she says, okay. But really, I'm hanging out with this girl from work. And I'm not doing anything with her. I'm being deceitful. And the reason I'm being deceitful, and that's cheating to me. Even if I never kiss her or anything, there's a reason I'm lying to my girl to do that. And that's a form of cheating. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, that's my definition. It's like it's what happens when you do anything that you don't want your significant other to know about, with the exception of I'm planning a surprise party.
Correct. Yeah.
It is. But, with some type of fear that you're going to be yelled at or hurt, whatever the case may be, or they're going to be hurt by finding out. If you're doing something that you don't want them to know about, then it's by definition cheating, because it's something you obviously can't be straight with them about.
Yeah.
And that's anything.
Being
that's
dishonest
someone
and disingenuous is a horrible thing to anybody.
Right.
And, somebody asked me the other day, they said, well, if that's the case, can you cheat on a friend? And I go, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You absolutely can.
Because whatever the terms are, they are, right?
Yeah.
So
people think that cheating means doing something romantic or sexual with somebody else. And, so if that's all it is, then guess what? If you want to date me, then I can go on dates. As long as I don't have sex with them or do anything dirty, then I can go on dates and hang out with a bunch of women. That's the way so think about that. It's you'd still be like, no, that's not okay. Yeah, because that's cheating.
I also believe it starts from a non-sexual need as not being addressed within the relationship.
100%.
So it may become a sexual thing, but it usually starts out with somebody who's empathetic to you and you're not getting that at home, or somebody who's listening to you and you're not being listened to at home. There's something that, and I believe that, and I'm not the most romantic type, but I'm going to say something pretty I don't know, squishy that I normally don't say. If you're with somebody and the two of you are trying to, I always call it you're building your empire. The two of you are whatever, you're putting your effort into what it is that you're trying to build as two people, as a team. And again, whatever your relationship is, it is. But in the case of two people that are monogamous, turning outside of your relationship to fulfill a need is taking power from your relationship and handing it somewhere else.
Absolutely.
So when somebody, you're a woman and you're not really, don't feel like you're getting enough attention at home, and some guy at work listens to you and talks to you a lot or whatever. If it's taking structure or substance from your relationship and placing it in an outward way, then it's damaging to your relationship. Instead of saying, well, this guy never listens to me, or whatever the case may be, obviously if you have problems with your relationship, you need to fix that. That should be the first thing you try to do.
Or not, right? Or not.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Fix it however you need to, meaning
correct.
You decide that the two of you need to, you both of you have been under some type of pressure and you both don't want to see anything happen and you try to work it out. Or you both decide that, you're not.
You got to move along.
Place.
Right.
But whatever the case may be, taking attention from outside your relationship and putting stock in that is.
Yeah. It's a form of cheating
for the relationship you're in.
Yeah, now let's talk about that. Actually, let's talk about that, because there's another side, and that's why I say when somebody says once a cheater, always a cheater, and I will say absolutely not. I think that, and I think cheating is shitty. So don't take this the wrong way, and don't be like, no, it's not. I'm not. Cheating is a shitty thing to do, and whoever cheats is an ass. So the thing is this. Do they have the right to cheat? Well, they do. And the reason, and I'll explain that. If somebody is not compatible, for example, let's say, and I'll use myself as the bad guy here, and then I'll explain to you how this would work, right? I've actually been in a relationship in the past, and I actually had a conversation with her and said, look, we've been talking about this problem for the past year, and it's not changed. So this is what's happening. I'm going out tonight. I'm going to meet a woman. I'm going to have sex. Should I come home, or are we done? That's really what I said. And, people are like, holy shit, how do you have the balls to say that? And I have the balls to say that because I'm not a cheater, right? So had I been a weak man, I would have just cheated because I wasn't getting what I wanted from that person. And the same thing kind of happened when, and I didn't cheat. And the same thing happened. I was working at this place, and it's the most beautiful girl in the whole building. Everybody used to talk about it. Oh, my God, here she comes. She's coming down. She's coming down to get something, and blah, blah, blah. Everybody made a huge deal, right? And one day, I'm working in an office. I think I was running Cat 5 or something, and she came in, and she's like, I think you're a really handsome man, and I'd love to take you out for coffee sometime. And I said, I'm flattered, and very flattered, by the way, because everybody thinks she's smoking hot, and me? You want to take me out to coffee? So I was honored, number one. And I said, I told her I was flattered, but I'm with somebody. And that was the end of it. Now, I was also with somebody that was not very affectionate. So getting attention from somebody else definitely hit me a lot harder than it would have if I was happy at home. I was not happy at home. So I started thinking about that. Do I want to be with somebody who's affectionate like her and really thoughtful and blah, blah, blah? And because, I mean, I knew her, too, from work. Right. So, yeah. So I ended up breaking up with the person I was with and ended up dating that girl. And it was, it was only for a year. But, it didn't work out to be great or anything like that. But the thing is that sometimes you have to realize that incompatibility issues between two people that are in denial will create a cheating situation, whether it's the male or the female that cheats. And today, if you look at statistics, the women are actually surpassing men in cheating now. And that's insane to me, because cheating used to kind of be like a given, I think, years and years ago. And now if you look statistically, I think it's like 54% of women cheat. And that's higher than men. I actually think that there's a statistical reason for that, but I won't get into that. Yeah, I'm sure there is. Absolutely. I also believe that cheating is something that people do that do not want to lose what they have, but they want to add to what they don't have. Meaning, well, I mean, not that it has to be explained. It's pretty obvious when I say it that way, but like, hey, I have an investment here. I have children. I have property. I have, a wife or a husband or whatever. Yep. And there's stuff that I don't want to leave because there's all this stuff I built up as an investment in my life. However, and I know how Dave feels about this, but I'm saying this is what people do. Yes, of course they do. This is how I've heard people tell me this. Me too. Straight out. Me too. 100%. Yep. Hey, if I just go and get this one thing and add it to what I already have, then everything will be good. I want what I have, but I also want what I don't have. I want everything. I want my cake, and I want to eat it too. Like, whatever. Yep. So, to me, it's kind of like, okay, well, it kind of sucks when you know that you want to be with somebody you're not married to, you're not involved with. You really have to make a big decision, and it does suck. Sometimes you have to break up that investment that you have. I mean, it's... we're not living in a day and age where the kids, well, let's do it for the kids. I mean, that was never something that I believe should have been. I don't either, because the kids see that. When they start getting older, they see it, they realize it, and then they live that. And it's not right. Right. And and you're right. People will stay because they've had so much invested. Well, we have a house. We have the kids. Yeah. We have this. We have that. And okay, so then have a conversation and go, you know what, though? Our relationship sucks because we don't do anything romantic. So is it cool if we go out and date other people and see what happens? Right. I mean, you need to have it, because there may be a case where they go, yeah. So that woman, by the way, I also don't think the person at home that is never as clueless as you think they are about what you're doing. Of course. Let's just put it that way. That's right. The energy shifts. Of course it does. I'm sorry. 100%. What were you saying? So last week I talked about the instant gratification, that woman that I dated for a brief period of time, and she literally thought we were great for a long-term relationship, and she didn't even know my middle name. That one, if you didn't watch last week, you don't know what I'm talking about, and that's your own damn fault. So she actually lived in a home. It was a large home. They lived in a really big house, and her ex-husband still lived in the home because they didn't want to give all that up. And they still lived in the home, and the kids lived in the home as well. So, I mean, they lived in a different wing of the house. Let's just say that. So they had a Sharon Greg Allman situation going on. Yeah. Essentially. Yes, exactly. Okay. So, now he could have guests over because they would come in his side of the house. And when I tell you this house was like, when she said he's in his own wing, when I ever drove by the house, it was a huge, there was wings in the house. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. And, they shared the kitchen and stuff like that. But if they had guests over, they would stay in their wing and, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So whatever you have to do, right? And I
Right.
get that. That doesn't mean that, first of all, I'm not interested because I don't want to go and hang out in a wing of the house that, and then if I have to go into the kitchen for anything, what if we really worked out? What am I going to be?
Maybe they had two kitchens. Maybe they had kitchens in their individual wings.
They didn't. They didn't. They
okay.
They had a shared
I was going to
kitchen.
say.
So,
I mean, you got all that space. Put it in the kitchen.
Yeah. So,
but anyway.
Yeah, that was, but yeah, so did they cheat on each other? I don't know what they did, but the fact of the matter is they actually separated, but they stayed in the house and they kept all their stuff the way it is. And now to me, that's silly and messy. Really messy, especially if you fall in love with somebody else and it's like, okay, so are you moving in with me because you didn't want to leave all this behind? Or am I moving in your damn wing? You know what I mean? That's just silly, right?
It is.
So what do you expect? So it can get messy, right?
Right.
If you're going to stay in that relationship because of all those things, and people do, and you're right. I've heard it a million times myself. I have so much invested in this, I can't just leave it. Okay, so then you go out and you cheat, right? Now you get two pissed off people in that same house where you built up all that stuff and you destroy the shit out of your kids. Because remember, it all stems from childhood. If you don't know what I'm talking about.
Somebody go watch War of the Roses and you'll see what we're
exactly right.
I just watched that the other day.
Oh my God, I got to watch that again. That's funny.
Oh, what a great movie.
It is.
But yeah, I mean, it comes down to stuff and
stuff doesn't make a difference, really.
I mean, I do know that, again, I don't know, the laws in life is different. I know a lot of guys swear up and down it hasn't changed, but it has. Really, money is really what talks.
Yes.
So in most divorces, it's like who's got the money, who doesn't have the money. That's really how the lawsuit goes. I do have friends that married some really wealthy women and lost money when they divorced them. I don't know what kind of lawyers they got, but they actually swear up and down that they lost the money to women who had like trust funds and things like that. I don't know.
Okay, so I can
but
tell you.
But I think that's the exception.
I mean, so I do know a man in my life that's a family member of my family. He was married to somebody who had a lot of money. They had multiple houses together. They had businesses together. They had all kinds of stuff. Now, it all stemmed from her family. And then when it came time to divorce, he was basically ripped through the ringer. Broke, nothingness.
Like,
I mean,
I got to figure that that's a really good lawyer because
it's got to be because, I also know women who have money that, had to pay out alimony. So I do know that, too.
I have most of my friends, and again, I know that I am like this really weird alien that most of my friends are like the anomaly of most of life. But most of my friends are the ones that earn the money. Yeah. And when they got divorced, they had to pay out.
Yes. But
they had to give their 401ks up. They had to buy the house out, whatever it is.
If they opted not to, though, and it depends on how much money they have, right? Look, if I can spend $1 million on attorneys and you can spend $4,000, I'm winning that deal because what's going to happen is you're going to run out of money, can't afford your lawyer anymore. I automatically win by default. It's sad, and it should not be that way. But you're right. Wherever the money is, if you want to win, you're going to win, right? If you have the money. Because all you got to do is keep
also
literally, this person that I'm talking about had to get rid of his vehicles and everything, sell everything so he could afford an attorney. He was just, he has a decent job, but it's not the kind of
Now, these
money.
friends of mine had the money, but ended up having to pay the person who didn't have it.
But I don't think they fought really hard either. They probably felt like, okay, fair is fair, because fair is fair, right? It doesn't matter if you're male or female. If you are supposed to pay alimony, then pay the damn alimony. That's the way it works, right?
But also, the person, in this case, the friends of mine that didn't, if they had children, some of them didn't, and that's a different story. But the ones who did, their children were theirs, and they had sole custody, or they had whatever you want to call it, the majority of the custody.
Physical custody.
So they're not paying alimony because or they're not paying child support, because of the fact that the kids live with them.
No, but they still would pay alimony if they've been together for more than 10 years, So, because it's a way of life, right? So let's say you and I get married and we live together and you make $300,000 a year and I make $100,000 a year. Well, we're living a lifestyle of two people with $500,000 a year. So I'm living like I've got $250,000 and you've got $250,000 because we're combining everything. So we get divorced. I'm entitled to that same lifestyle that we had together. That's what alimony is all about. And it doesn't matter. And for years, it's always been pushed for the guy to pay it, right? But now women are having their...
right,
and rightfully so. I don't disagree with alimony, and
that was my point. My point is that years ago it used to be that the guy was always the one that lost money.
But that's because they were the breadwinners back then.
Right,
it was a different thing. Yeah, so
exactly.
Now the women are the breadwinners. They
some
pay
of them
too.
are, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So now it. But in the end of the day, when I was growing up, it was more the guys that were saying, "Well, I can't. I'm going to lose everything. She's going to take me for everything. I can't." I don't want to be there anymore, but, and it's kind of like, I remember hearing that a lot as a kid growing up, from that era. And that was kind of what it was about. Yeah. So, and of course the women were always the one who filed. They were like the ones that wanted out. And the husband would be like, but to be fair, they would find out their husbands had secretaries on the side.
Of course.
It was usually some kind of, the husband had some kind of side thing going on, so that's why the wife would file. It wasn't out of the blue.
Right, of course.
And you would think these guys were complete, they were complete victims, but that really wasn't the case.
No,
so,
you're not a victim. You stayed because you didn't want to give up half your money, and you cheated, and you got caught. And there used to be different laws. They used to be, like now, most states are no-fault states, right? Which means...
Our state always has been. In Rhode Island, it's always been no-fault here.
So, but years and years ago... that if you cheated, and let's say you were the woman and the man made the money, it was cause, and you didn't get shit. You left that relationship with whatever you had on your back. You didn't get half of anything at that point because you violated a contract. Which I think it should still kind of be the same way, where I think it's automatic. If a guy cheats and he's the breadwinner, he automatically relinquishes half of everything he gets. Too bad. Yeah. You screwed the pooch. You breached the contract. So now we have no-fault states, which means that you're allowed to breach the contract and nobody gives a shit. Well, isn't the whole point of a marriage the paper and the contract that you have with each other?
Yeah, well, you know how I feel about that.
Right, but that's all it is.
I feel like the divorce is just like the engagement. It's the same thing, but in the other direction.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And so, there's paperwork that goes with that, and there's paperwork when you start.
So now, because there's no fault states, the paperwork is actually not worth the paper it's written on. How's that make you feel about marriage now? It's just like...
Yeah, I mean...
There used to be legal ramifications. Cheating was against the law. And they say it still is. So what's the punishment for it? There ain't no punishment for it.
Well, also it has to be proven to some degree, right?
It does.
Then you have to go through all that too. But, it all starts, I think, and we kind of sort of brushed on this, from people that are, maybe they're young, like maybe two people are young, maybe they're 19, 20, 21, and they're just too young and stupid to really know who they should be with, and so they get married because they don't know any better.
Sure.
And then it all seems like a real fun party for about a year and a half. And then they realize, oh, we're growing up. We're not really the same people. I mean, that's my generation. That's kind of how it was, where people got married young.
Right.
The girls that I went to school with, they got married straight out of high school.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Most of them are all divorced from that marriage. Got divorced somewhere in their late 20s, mid 30s, or whatever.
Right, and the biggest thing I used to hear back then is I didn't even get a chance to experience life. I've never had sex or kissed any other man ever in my life, or woman, and that's kind of a big deal. I mean, because
well, if you get married young, then you don't know from anything else, and I think that's how marriage is designed.
But right, yeah. But they started
to some degree.
They start seeing it from their friends who are not married, and they're having fun. And I still to this day, because I'm a bachelor or I'm single, I still date and do my thing. And I have married guys all the time, or guys that are in relationships go, I wish I could live your life. And I'm like, why? I mean, it's not. My life is not special. That's just what's happening, right? The special thing is when you meet somebody that you get an opportunity to. I would love to be able to be done when we're done with this podcast, sit on the couch and watch a movie holding somebody's hand that I really love, right?
Well,
that's not an option. Can I go out and meet somebody and have somebody come over that I love but I'm not in love with and have sex? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do I want to really sit there and hold a hand while we're watching movies? Well, one of them.
No.
But, but it's still not the same thing. You know what I mean?
Actually, it's funny the way that people see relationships, and for somebody to say, I wish I was you, because people always want what's on the other side of the
Of course we do.
The grass is greener, right?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody, if they believe that their relationships define their life, and I think that's where a lot of that comes from.
Yeah.
Relationships are like employment, and I'm not trying to be cheap about it, but like sometimes you're working, sometimes you're not working. Like it's just circumstantial. It's not, there's no big message to anything that's going on in your life. If you're married, you're married because that's where you're at that point. If you're divorced because that's where you are at that point. If you're single, you're single because like it's not like none of that defines you as a person. But people that say, well, I wish I could live your life, I guess to them that defines them as a person. They feel like whether you're in a relationship or not, you should live your life by that. And really, no, you're in a relationship with somebody that you married because you were supposed to be happy to be with them. So why would you want my life if your life works for you? That's why you're in it.
Exactly.
Is that not the case?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So
sure.
that's a kind of interesting thing to hear from somebody that's supposed to be married happily.
Right. It's
or
like,
at least married.
So are you really in a place you want to be? If you admire my life, then I mean, I get it. I mean, look, admiring somebody else's life is one thing.
You want it all. Here's how
of course
I feel.
We do.
I think that if you're in a relationship where I'm hoping someday that if I get involved with somebody, it's going to be somebody that I don't have to give up facets of my single life. And I don't mean it in any way, shape, or form to be disrespectful to the person I'm with.
Yep.
But I should have a life that's full, with the exception of, my relationship should not be the thing I revolve around. It should be part of
100%.
several
I agree
things,
with you 100%.
right? So in order to be married, some people feel like they have to give up being single. And if they date or marry people that make them give things up that they love, then I think that's where you get that kind of statement
Right.
from.
Does it mean that I'm going to have girls over and stuff? No, that goes away. And that's fine.
No, but
the
you know what
things
I mean?
that, like today,
Your friends
I had to go out. Yeah, I was hanging with two of my buddies today for a period of time. And I will tell you that if somebody ever tried to make me give that up, then what am I doing? Are you actually going to make me cheat? By going, am I going to start lying to you so I can hang out with my buddies? That would be horrendous, and I wouldn't put up with that. And so, if we don't put up with things like that in a relationship, and we have an agreement, or we meet the right person, we'll never even want to cheat. I mean, that's just the way it is.
To me, that's the way it should be.
Exactly. You should be in a position.
Grail of it.
This
reminds me of that guy I brought up. I told you I ran into this guy one time, and he was in a band and they were out playing forever, and they stopped playing for I don't know how long. I thought they broke up, and then I ran into him one night, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" and blah blah blah, and we were talking, and he's like, "Oh, you got to come out and see us play. We're going to be playing." And I said, "When?" And he said, "April." And this was like in September or something that I was talking to him, and I'm like, "What?" Yeah, we're going to be playing in April, and I'm like, "Why is it so far out? Why is it 6 months from now?" And he said, "Well, some of the guys got married."
Yep.
And I said, "So?" Me, I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? Well, their wives don't really like.
Yeah.
And I said, wait a minute, didn't they meet their wives while they were out playing in a band?
Yeah. Oh, if anybody ever, I mean, I've had it. I mean, if you guys can't see me, but Lana can. I'm sitting in my studio. There's all music equipment here, and I'm a musician. And I've had, and I also, used to write code, and I still do. And I've had women that I was dating actually be jealous of my, he's always on the computer. He's always on the computer. I'm like, it's my job, jealous of my job, jealous of the fact that I go into the studio. I still have hobbies and things that I enjoy to do. So the thing is don't make me feel like I'm cheating because I'm sitting down writing the song for maybe you. I mean, it's just, it's silly. You want me to give up everything? Then that's what we have to do. And if you think about last week's podcast, the instant gratification, that's what leads to cheating. When you're expecting instant gratification and then find out it's not so gratifying after all, and then you start
looking. You have
looking
unrealistic expectations of what your relationship's supposed to be once you get into it.
That's
you expect things from somebody that are not fair, that they shouldn't have to do for you. Because you think that's part of, you learned it somewhere, that's part of the relationship, and you inflict your rules on somebody else.
So the moral of the story is, and we're going to wrap this one up today too. So the moral of the story is cheating. And so if you feel as though you are not getting whatever it is for your significant other that makes you want to go out and get it from somebody else, you have that discussion. And then if you can't resolve that discussion, if you can't resolve that problem and you still feel like you need that, then you need to leave that relationship because you're not compatible. That's the simple thing. So
and you just
not
found out a little bit too late.
Yeah, you found out a little late. And it doesn't mean that you still can't leave that situation because it's not going to work anyway. Somebody's going to cheat, and then it's going to be a big blowout, and you're going to hate each other, and that doesn't even make any sense. So don't cheat on each other. Just be honest with each other.
I have a friend who went through this for 20 years ago, kids and all that other stuff, and stuck it out. Oh, I don't want to go through it. Oh, I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to lose everything. Well, they finally left 20 years later. Do you know what they said?
Should have left 20 years ago.
Why didn't I do this 15 years ago?
Yeah, exactly.
I tried to tell you that 15 years ago, and you told me I was crazy.
That's the thing. The fact of the matter is,
you don't get your life back.
All you do is you prolong the inevitable. And that's right. And I tell people that all the time. What are you doing? You're prolonging the inevitable. You know it's going to happen. But I think they all do. Of course you do. I tell people all the time, you already know. When they call me for advice, I'm like, you're calling me for advice because you already know. You're not really looking for advice. You're looking for verification. Verification.
That's what we say in my group.
Yes,
this
100%.
Person isn't really looking for us to give them straight answers. They're looking for us to tell them what they already want to do is okay.
Exactly. And look, listen, if you want to do it, it is okay.
Don't ask anybody. Go do what you want. What are you asking us for?
Yeah, it's your life. Go ahead and do it. And just look, if you get to that point, just don't be an asshole and go out and cheat. Because that's shitty. Right. Just have the balls.
That's somebody else's life to cheat.
Yeah, have the balls to say to the person, look, we're not compatible, no matter what the reason is. And with that person I told you earlier in the episode here, I told her, I'm going to go out, I'm going to meet a woman, I'm going to have sex. Should I come home or should I not come home? Because we were having problems and we had been discussing them for a year. I'm not having sex for a year. And staying in that relationship. I'm gonna have sex with somebody.
That's how I feel. Okay. You may not want it anymore, and that's your problem.
That's your prerogative, and that's okay. That's okay, right? I'm gonna have sex. Right. Now, I could have been an asshole and just sneaked off and went and had sex, but I didn't do that. So, and that beep beep means your glasses are done.
We are. Listen, we're letting you. I'm going to let you in a little secret. We're timing these podcasts.
We are because we
know that we can't do it without some kind of structure. So
and we talked about this in the last episode too, and we keep talking about it because we can't help ourselves but find something else to talk about. But we did it. We did it, and I think we covered it completely.
And you know what? I'm feeling an immense sense of delayed gratification for this.
Yeah. I'm getting a
dopamine hit.
I am. I'm getting the instant gratification for doing this. So listen, you guys, I've been David.
I have been Lana. Do you want to go ahead and rattle off some websites, Dave?
Sure. www.lanaanddave.com. Or, you know what we like? What do we like? Tell them what we like.
Coffee.
I love coffee.
Here's what coffee sounds like.
That sounds like an empty cup of coffee. You need coffee.
It's
so you can buy us.
I need
some
more.
You can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Lana and Dave. And yeah.
And you have been Dave. You said that. I don't want you to have to repeat it again.
I've been Dave still.
And I have been Lana. Oh, no, I've got to do it twice. I have been Lana.
Oh, you did it 3 times now. I've been Dave.
Okay. That's it.
We'll see you guys next week.
Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, you just listened to Love and Life with Lana and Dave. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please share the podcast, leave us a comment or review, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any new content. We'll see you soon.